Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up to date, we've got an e-commerce and dropshipping site for sale in the apparel niche. Created in 2001, this business makes $3,419 per month in net profit, and the listing number for this business is 40964. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Thanks for coming on, Scott.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, man. Before we dive into the questions here, I just want to give a quick summary of the business. As I mentioned, the business was originally built in 2001, which we'll go into more detail about that here shortly. The monthly revenue is $5,755, with expenses sitting at $2,336 for that total net profit of $3,419. Now, that is over a 12-month average, and included with the sale of this business is obviously the domain plus the UK and Australian domains, the site content files, email lists, social media accounts, Magento applications, as well as equipment. So that being said, Scott, can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses? Is this kind of your first one, or is it one of many?
No, this is my first one. This was acquired in 2015. I came from real estate, flipping houses. Wanted a change. I was looking for an e-commerce site that was behind the curve that I could monetize, better in different ways.
Yeah, so you actually acquired this business, right? You want to tell us a little bit more about how that came about?
Yeah, this was an acquisition in 2015. I was looking for something that was established. It was an older domain. I had low competition on a lot of the keywords, and I knew that I could move the current business model at that time, which was more of a traditional retail sales method, to purely online, and I actually started drop shipping a lot of the product.
Was it being drop shipped before you took over the business, or was it all sourced?
No, it was all sourced, and I would say a lot of his sales came from retail. But the problem was that he was paying about $70,000 a year in rent.
And good old brick and mortar.
Yeah, you gotta love that. And so I knew that I could cut expenses drastically, knowing that sales would dip, obviously, because of the brick and mortar, but really fine-tuning and making it more efficient.
So for someone looking at this business, and perhaps they're kind of new to the drop shipping model, or maybe even online business in general, maybe this is their first acquisition they're looking to make online. Could you just briefly describe in a couple of sentences how this business is primarily making its money? Yeah,
so there's a couple different ways, and there's several more that can be monetized, but currently it's making money. I would say 25 to 50% of sales revenue comes from drop shipping. The other half comes from inventory that we do have, but it's being driven by, we have a large customer base, and then we do some PPC mainly on our keyword from our website and organic rankings. We have a couple of affiliates, but we haven't monetized that to the point where it's significant.
So basically you have traffic coming in, people buy the product from you, the product is shipped from the manufacturer to the end client, and you aren't warehousing it or anything along those lines. Is that more or less correct?
Yes, we do warehouse some of the products. For instance, our private label, which allows us to have a greater profit margin.
Right. Are the majority of your products sourced or drop shipped?
It's close to half. Half and half. Yeah.
So why are you selling the business? As you mentioned earlier, you were looking for an established business. This one is pretty old, especially in terms of internet terms, right? 2001's a few lifetime cycles in the internet world, it seems. So why are you selling the business? Why not just keep it and grow it?
So I've come across, I got into this leaving real estate, but real estate has evolved into numerous other things in the last year. And originally lost my passion for it, but it's kind of come back in a different form. So I'm also doing that, and that's what I plan on doing full time. So that's the main opportunity that I'm going to be looking forward to.
Excellent. So you're going to use the money to invest into your real estate projects, I'm assuming?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. When you first acquired this business, what was the trajectory like? Did you find that you were able to start growing it and scale it quickly, or did it kind of take a while?
It took a little while. I mean, it was still having sales. Nothing changed as far as the actual domain goes. But there were things that needed upgraded. The content, the photography, and more importantly, we changed backends to Magento. It's more user-friendly. The checkout process is very smooth. And we have a lot of applications that just kind of brought the site into modern-day times.
I'm envisioning one of those old like one-page e-commerce stores back when the internet was dial-up.
Yeah, so it had several pages and, different product pages. So, I mean, from a standpoint of it actually working, it worked fine. But it was like 1972 called, and
state of the art back then, man.
Yeah. It was just a little odd, and so I was slowly making changes. That's something that you want to be very careful and cognizant about.
Yeah, definitely.
Making changes too fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Is there anything you learned in this business and operating and growing it that you're going to be applying to your future projects? I know you're going to real estate, but maybe there's something that just worked really well for you that a buyer would love to hear about this business?
Yeah, going back to the whole brick and mortar upon acquisition, I knew immediately that I was going purely online. But I would say, I've been very cognizant in cutting costs. And it makes no sense in today's day and age, if you're running an online business, to buy and hold inventory. If it's your own product, that's completely different, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can monetize that through wholesaling to different retail shops. Plus, it's probably worth making 5, 6, 7 times on your money on your own private label. So right. That was one thing that we did early on, was the private label. We've had phenomenal results from it. But one thing that I've learned that I would carry on into real estate is, just look at your bottom line and the cost, not everything you have to have. And, sometimes things work, you try it out, and sometimes things don't. That's just part of learning.
It's true enough. Some of the best lessons are sometimes the things that didn't work. Speaking of that, is there anything you did with this business that just didn't work? Something that stands out that you kind of wish you didn't do, or kind of a lesson learned on your own?
Yeah, absolutely. This will be good for someone who is looking to acquire an e-commerce business, and it may be their first one. And for those that are listening that have acquired many, they may laugh and think I've been there too. But, PPC is an interesting way to generate revenue. And I found early on that it wasn't very beneficial for us with keywords. It became a seasonal thing, but at the end, we just realized it's best just to use kind of, certain keywords that are affiliated with our domain, as opposed to just casting a net and hoping we get some fish. So, we're more strategic when it comes to paid marketing. We don't do a whole lot. We have a MailChimp account, so we do things like that. But as far as just throwing money out there in the sea and trying to catch something, it wasn't for us.
I take it you cast a little bit too wide of a net initially.
Yeah. I think that's an easy mistake to make.
Definitely it is. I've heard of people losing their shirt with PVC before, just like, forgetting one small detail and then realizing, I've had like a 5,000 spend that's going to a broken URL. Definitely things that can happen. Speaking of PPC, where's your traffic coming from? You mentioned you're doing some PPC right now, but you also have some organic search. What's the breakdown?
Yeah, so we have a pretty big email database that we like to remind that we've got, specials, and just a reminder that, hey, we're still here and we've got great products. So we do have that. We also get a lot of organic. As far as a percentage breakdown, I think on the analytics, it's probably 65% new visitors, and then the remaining existing, customers or people that have been on our site before. So, yeah, MailChimp has worked out good for us in the email marketing campaigns, and organic. So if there's one thing, and I think we'll get to it here in a little bit, if there's one thing that I would stress, it would be work on the organic side of it.
Let's dive into that a little bit now. Why do you say work on the organic side? Have you found that is just the most valuable traffic, or what's your reasoning behind that?
Yeah, well, for one, it's free, right?
Right.
I mean, it takes a little sweat equity to get that, but if you stay consistent, it's not hard to move up in the rankings in this niche. this specific niche. There's not a lot of competition. Yeah, there's some, but there's not a ton. There's a huge opportunity there just to, keep posting and do some, regular and organic content.
Are you currently adding content right now, or what's kind of your SEO strategy at the moment?
Yeah, so, in being honest, that's one thing that I haven't been very persistent about, with real estate grabbing me one way and wife and kids grabbing me another way. Just the daily grind, it's kept me from being, consistent. So this would be great for someone who knows consistency, and it's going to pay, astronomical dividends for them in just being consistent. I'm pretty consistent on the email marketing side of it, but as far as the content, we're good at adding products. But, some of that other content, blog, we do have a blog that's on the website. That will help. And some of the other opportunities outside of, adding new products and content, one is expanding the other two international sites. So we do have a U.S. site, but we also have two other sites. As you mentioned earlier, one is in the UK and one is in Australia. And these two sites, they have not been monetized, but they do carry over all of the Magento applications. So you'll have multiple backends. And there's reasons for going to those two countries, specifically in our apparel niche. It made the most sense. Affiliate marketing, we have two. Haven't done yet. We do get some sales from them, but we haven't monetized it to the point where, and it could be to where it would bring in, instead of maybe 5% of sales, bring in 15, 20%. In our private label, we could do wholesaling, so we could wholesale to other boutiques, and also Amazon and Walmart marketplaces. We've been invited to both, just haven't gone after the Amazon, and the Walmart one is more of a recent one.
That was my next question. If you ever thought about putting up on Amazon, that makes sense. So with the UK and Australia sites, you mentioned they're not monetized yet, so they're all set up and ready to go, but there's no way to buy the actual products yet. Are you getting traffic to those sites, or what's that looking like?
So they are set up, and no, we're not getting much, if any, traffic, just because we decided just to hold back for the time being. But the long-term thinking was, we have these sites, and in this particular apparel niche, that we have several drop shippers that are making these products in those countries, and so we could have them. It could be free shipping. Purchase in, say, the UK and the sites in the UK. So there's a lot of opportunities to get those up and running and make money. But again, it's kind of one of those things. I only spend 2 to 4 hours a week on this. And so my 2 to 4 hours, I haven't quite been able to fit those other two sites in.
That makes sense. When it comes to PPC, was that AdWords PPC, or is it another kind of PPC that you were talking about?
It was AdWords.
AdWords, okay, cool. With your products, so you say about 50% of your products are drop shipped. How many products do you have altogether? Like how many SKUs?
SKUs, we have probably between 30 and 40 of our private label, and we probably have roughly another 800 that's non-private label.
And the 800, I'm assuming, is mainly all the drop shipping?
Yeah. We do carry some inventory that's non-drop ship, but, outside of that, it's, the remaining would be drop ship.
If you had to compare, which one do you think is, obviously you might not have your numbers right in front of you, but when it comes to breakdown by private label versus, say, the drop shipping, which one do you think is earning the lion's share of the income?
Between the drop ship and the private label?
Yeah.
I would say the drop ship, because a lot of the drop ship, we have a much higher price point. And some of these products are, over $1,000. And the private label, we tend to be in the 150 to 300 range.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's easy to get a couple of sales on some of the higher end products.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you have a methodology when you were picking out these dropshipping products, or was it already kind of with the store when you acquired this e-commerce store?
No, none of the products were there in 2015.
Okay, cool. So
yeah, so
quite a lot.
Yeah, this was all relationship driven and reaching out, and they like it. It's worked out really well. And so I was looking for something that I knew would be consistent with kind of what the customers like.
Excellent. And you mentioned an affiliate program, so you have an affiliate program to your e-commerce store. Is that correct?
So we're on Shopteeks. So I would consider we're an affiliate, Shopteeks, and then there's another one that we use as well.
Excellent. Cool. When it comes to stability of earnings, do you see any kind of seasonality throughout the year?
Yeah, so, the big time of the year is going to be kind of spring, summer. I would say those months would be March through June, July. But then once the holidays come, Christmas time and even October timeframe, it spikes a little bit too.
No, you mentioned earlier that you're not adding content on a consistent basis, but you're pretty focused on the email list. Could you describe a little bit what you're doing with the email list and how big the email list is in terms of subscribers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the list is roughly 7,000 emails, and this was all been organically driven. And we send an email out. We try to do about once a week. Again, consistency has been the issue, but revenue has been consistent. It's just the consistency on the content part. So, yeah, that would be one of the concerns for those that are looking at this. But when you're looking at the revenue, that's consistent. So to me, I'm thinking, if I'm a buyer, I'm thinking, well, there's a lot of upside because he's just failing at some of the consistency on the content part, which is true, right? So, yeah, the revenue's there. It's just a matter of, making it a priority.
When you're doing your weekly emails or attempting to, get the weekly email out, are those usually like promotional emails? Are you sending them to a piece of content? Or do you also have like an autoresponder when people first opt in that perhaps gives them a little drip marketing campaign or anything like that?
There is an autoresponder, and these are mainly promotional emails. So kind of whatever sales that we're doing for the week or for the month, it's just a reminder that, this is what we've got going on in this particular category, and this is how much off it is. And then we'll oftentimes follow that up with, you got 2 days left, or this is the last day, ends at midnight.
Excellent. Awesome. Good scarcity tactic there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to opportunities, we already discussed them just a little bit. Let's pretend you weren't going to sell the business. You're going to keep it and grow it. What would be one of the least risky paths you'd focus on to grow this business?
Well, the least risky one would be just being consistent in the content. I know we've talked about that a couple of times now, but I would purely focus on organic. That's what I would do. It's free. There's very little risk. It's not like PPC AdWords where, you're casting the net. So,
golden net.
Yeah. Anytime you leave it in the hands of Google, it's not good.
You'd focus on more SEO, content creation, link building, that kind of style of growth?
Yes, I would.
Now, let's pretend you were incredibly risky. You just kind of threw caution to the wind, and your goal is to grow the business as quickly as humanly possible. Would you do anything different?
I would probably go to the marketplace. With the private label, it's easier, I should say, with an Amazon and a Walmart because you've got multiple SKUs. And even with the dropship stuff, you can do that. So I would probably then go to some of the other marketplaces and even wholesale, out to some boutiques.
Is there any suggestion on how a person could reach out to those more boutique brick and mortar stores to sell your products?
Well, the easiest path, I think, would be just to get a boutique list and send out a mass email and see what kind of feedback you get.
I think that's a cool little opportunity that, it's one that's not often explored either, but I definitely see some merit in doing something along those lines. So I think that's an interesting tactic for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we're allowed to talk about profit margins here, Greg,
sure.
But on the private label, the spread on the current inventory is already good. But on the private label stuff, I already mentioned the price points, retail from $150 to $300. But these products, it only costs $15, roughly, on average. So even if you're doing 50% off, you're still making 5 times on your money.
Right. Yeah, that's great. That's great margins, actually.
Yeah.
Really good. When it does come to risk, you mentioned already kind of Google PPC as being a risk in terms of, ad spend, all that kind of stuff. What are the biggest risks, though, to this business that buyers should be aware of?
Probably Google, changing its algorithm. If you've done all this work and original content and to drive your rankings, sometimes you could be blindsided by a change in the algorithm. But I would say the other risk, and I know this keeps being brought up, but is the content. Just keep up with the content. I would say those are the two biggest ones.
When it comes to work required, do you kind of describe what you're doing right now on a daily or maybe a weekly basis to maintain the business?
Mm-hmm. So it takes about 2 to 4 hours a week. I'm adding some new content, which consists of products and updating the website, and the email customer base with MailChimp, sending out emails. And I spend an hour or two a week just shipping out some products, some of the private label products.
You're shipping them out yourself, or do you have?
Yep.
Okay, so you don't have a quality control or anything like that that's outsourced. You're doing it all yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing it all myself, and that could be easily changed.
Yeah. Is there any skills you'd suggest for a buyer to have before they purchase a business like this?
Well, I don't think they need a skill in the apparel industry, as I clearly didn't. My wife would bring that up. So I don't think there's any set particular skill. I mean, I came from real estate. So just consistency.
They tend to be pretty good to keep running once they're actually set up. So I tend to agree with you there. Obviously, some background in Magento maybe. That'd probably be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you. When it comes to selling the business, would you be willing to commit to a non-compete with buyers saying, hey, look, I'm not going to go and start this same exact store after you buy this store from me?
Yes, 100%, absolutely. And I would also be willing to give the buyer some support. 180 days email support and once a month phone call.
Oh, that's a really good length of support for sure. It's a great deal. Now, obviously, the best case scenario here for you and for Empire Flippers is someone comes in and buys this business for full price outright. But would you at all be open to a split or earn out, say like 80% down and 20% after a few months, or maybe 80% down and 20% after hitting some kind of training mark or some kind of support mark, something along those lines?
Yeah, an earn out, I would be open to that and explore that given the right situation.
Yeah, obviously, it's very much case-by-case basis, right? So I think that can be a difficult question to answer sometimes. Before I ask you my final question, Scott, my hot seat question, if you will, I just want to give a quick summary of the business again for everyone out there listening in. This business was built in 2001 and acquired by Scott in 2015. The monthly revenue for this business is $5,755 with expenses sitting at $2,336 for that total net profit of $3,419. And that is over a 12-month average. And the assets included with the sale of this business are the domain, plus the 2 international domains, the UK and Australia domains, as well as the site content files, the email list, social media accounts, Magento applications, as well as the equipment. So my final question for you, Scott, is what is your best pitch in 30 seconds or less on why someone should purchase this business?
This site provides a great opportunity. There's low competition, and the products move, which is always a plus. But there's a lot of room for growth in monetizing different areas. And so that's what I would say.
That's one of the beauties of e-commerce. As you mentioned, there's the boutique stores, Walmart, Amazon FBA, and that's just for the private label stuff. There's all sorts of other stuff you can probably do with the drop shipping as well, plus the 2 international domains. So definitely a lot of different channels you can kind of explore with a business like this. Mm-hmm. For someone out there, if they're watching this on YouTube right now and you're wanting more information, the link will be below this video that will take you to the marketplace listing. Now, if you're watching this on the actual listing page and you want more information about this business, you can become a depositor today. All you have to do is click the button, make a deposit, and you'll be given everything you need to review this business. So, Scott, I appreciate you coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.